some support as well. So we're going to be doing a class focusing around the heart, around the Heart Meridian. And I just thought it'd be a nice one to start with because there's a lot of fear just in the collective consciousness, in the media, in the uncertainty of the situation we're in at the minute. And I think really allowing us, our heart space to expand and not contract is so crucial at this moment in our lives, if not in every single day, but especially now. We may feel that we're kind of closing and becoming smaller and more contracted. So this session is just about expanding more fully into your own heart space, into your own courage, and in the ability to give, to receive love, compassion, acceptance, and a sense of courage. So yeah, I thought that would be nice to work with today. So we'll start with a bit of breath work, just to let ourselves come into our heart space and to switch off the mind. So we can start to close down through the eyes. Just make sure you've made any adjustments for your sit bones, so you feel nice and grounded and connected into the earth. And just take a few rounds of breath in through the nose and sigh the breath out. Just breathe in like that a few more rounds. Really allow the exhale to elongate. Filling up into the entire torso as you inhale. Just taking one more round. And just starting to notice how your body feels as you're breathing, releasing, inhaling. Noticing where the breath is moving in your body. If there's anywhere that feels like it's a bit resistant to the breath, see if you can soften. Maybe invite a bit more breath into the belly, the back of the body, maybe the rib cage. So often when we're in stress mode, the first thing and the first sign is a change in our breath. And we often start to breathe in a much more shallow way. So we're feeling all in the upper chest, around the heart that we're breathing. And in fact, we can breathe all the way down into the lower belly, allowing the belly to expand. The rib cage widens and also the back of the lungs expand. So just take a few rounds of breath, just watching, just noticing how your natural breath sits in your body at the minute. And then we'll take you through a breath that's inspired from a Reiki cleanse that I do practice. Maybe not as often as I should, but it's so beautiful and it's so clearing, and it really brings a lot of energy and space into the body. So what we want to do is bring our hands into prayer and just rest the thumbs onto the sternum or just into the center of the chest, wherever it feels comfortable, and you can relax the elbows down towards the waist. And just take a moment to bring your awareness into your palms, into the heart space. So the way the breath flows in this one is we're watching a golden light, which is the breath, flow in through the crown, so the very top of your head. And we flow the breath down into the heart space. And as we exhale, The breath comes down the arms into the palms and makes a circuit round back to the heart. And then again, we inhale down into the heart space. More golden light is flooding in. And as we exhale, we're pushing round a circuit, splits from the heart into both hands and makes a circuit round back to the heart. And then again, inhaling the golden energy, your life force, your breath into your heart. Really visualizing that gold energy flooding down into the heart space. And as you exhale, you're pushing, you're clearing your energy meridian lines from the heart into your hands, all the way back to your heart. And this flow of light, this flow of energy is clearing anything that's holding space in the heart meridian, in your ability to give, to receive, to accept, in your hands. And really see it more bright, more vividly, more golden, more sparkly with every inhale. And clearing any density out of the body, out of the heart. And noticing this circuit that we're creating from the heart to the hands. Seeing the energy move now without obstruction. And you're bringing more vital energy in through your mind, through your connection to source, through your throat, heart, your arms, your hands. And really feel it moving through your arms, clearing any density from your heart. Just taking another 2 more rounds. And allowing your focus to come back into your heart space, with your prayer resting onto your hands, your heart. And just setting an intention for our practice today. I'd like to invite you to set an intention of courage. So whether that's just simply to feel more courageous in your decisions, to feel more courageous in your body, or whether it is something that you would like to work to be more courageous at. Just take a moment to really drop into your heart space and feel what it is that you'd like to really embody courage and give courage to. As from here we can release the hands down, out to the side, reach all the way up over the head, take a nice big breath in. Releasing that with an exhale, bring your hands back down to your heart and you can slowly start to blink open through the eyes. Nice, you can relax your hands down. If you need to change your legs over, we can switch sides of the legs. If you're okay, you are just staying where we are. Just going to do a little bit of work around the neck and shoulders to release any tension through here. That's generally where the first bit of tension starts to build. When we've got any tension around the heart, we feel the shoulders come up more to the ears. We feel a bit of closing off and a rounding forward of the shoulders, and we want to really get as much space and openness all the way around the heart as we can. So we're telling the body It's okay to be open. It's okay to have space. It's okay to lead from the heart space. So we can just allow the shoulders to come up to the ears as you inhale. As you exhale, we're going to push the shoulders back and pull them all the way down. Try to pull the shoulder blades down the back. Take a few more of these. Inhale up. Exhale, push them back and pull them down. 2 more. And last one. Nice. So keep that space around your heart. Keep the shoulder blades back and down, and keep that nice length through your neck. You're going to gently drop chin down toward the chest. As you inhale, stretching the back of the neck. As you exhale, chin comes back up toward the center. Inhale, chin goes up toward the sky. Keep a long neck. Keep the shoulder blades pinching together. And exhale, chin comes back parallel. Inhale, chin to chest. Exhale, sit. Inhale, looking up. Try to really lift the chin. Exhale to center. One more each way. Last one, looking up. Nice. From here, we're going to drop the right ear to the right shoulder. Inhale in. And then exhale, come back to center. Inhale to opposite side. Exhale to center. Inhale, right hip, ear, right shoulder. Exhale, center. Inhale, opposite side. Exhale, center. Last two, maybe seeing if you can slow the movement down. And last side. Nice. From here, we're going to look over to the right shoulder. Inhaling. Not trying to force at all, just going to where the body needs to. Inhale over upper shoulder. Inhale, right shoulder. Inhale, left shoulder. Just one more each side. Nice, going back to the center. Just give the shoulders a little roll. Backwards and forwards. Nice, so we're going to come off of the bricks off the seat. Just move the bricks to the side if you're using them. I'm going to come over onto all fours. Working through a little bit of cat-cow. So we just want to get a nice space underneath the hands. Try to have your fingertips spreading nice and wide from each other. Your index fingers pointing forward, your thumbs pointing more towards in the center. I want to try to get a nice big length in the spine. So just take the knees back so that they feel like they're underneath your hips. So as we inhale, we're going to round through the back. Breathing into the back of the lungs, tucking tailbone to chin. And as you exhale, come back to neutral spine. Inhale, drop the belly towards the floor, rise the tailbone and the chin towards the ceiling. Exhale, come back to center. Neutral spine. Inhale, round the back, arching. Exhale to center. So it's nice slow movements of just warming up the spine, dropping the belly towards the floor. Flexing the spine opposite direction. Inhale. Exhale to come to neutral spine. Just keep moving with your breath, noticing as you move, if there's any areas that you can move a little bit deeper into. So when we first come into each shape, the body has a resistance point, and that's perfect. We go to that point that the body wants us to go to. And then as we stay, as we move, we flow through these spaces a little bit more, the body starts to expand a little bit more. So this is why we want to push to our edges and see where our edges are. We're always working into our edge in Yin Yoga and never past the edge. So always trying to find as much spaciousness as we can, but never working into pain, never pushing past where we need to be going. Just taking your last round of cat-cow here, just take your time. And meeting back into the neutral spine. We're going to do some barrel rolls. They're really lovely for finding a bit of movement in the tissues around the shoulder blade, also around the spine. So we want to make a circle with the upper back, with the chest, and imagine that your torso is moving around like a barrel, so you're rotating to one direction. It might be nice, I like to bend the arms a little bit as I come down. Oh, that feels really nice to pause. You can pause, breathe into it, push into it, or you can keep flowing. Just going to go a few more in this direction. Keeping a nice full breath. Just one more in this direction. And then when you get to the center, pause and come back in the opposite direction. So spinning around, noticing any differences on this side. Again, if there's anywhere that you feel like you need to pause, you can pause. You can make the movements as big or as small as feels good. And using your breath. So although yin is also about stopping and slowing down, we're also trying to feel into the body more, trying to really drop inwards. So movements like this is a good way of acknowledging where we're holding tension, where we're maybe stuck, and just having a bit of a better insight to what's going on. Just taking one more circle through. Nice, and you can come back to the center. You can just walk your knees in, walk your hands back, coming into a seat. If this feels comfortable to stay in hero pose, you can stay with your feet like this. If it's too much to stay there, grab your bricks, sit onto your bricks. If you want to add a little extra stretching, we can tuck the toes under. Try to get all of your toes out. So they're nice and spread wide. This correlates in reflexology to the neck. So it's really good if you can stretch your toes. If not, it's perfect to stay as you are. Okay, so from here we want to just work into the wrists a little bit. Just take your wrists, interlace the fingers, bring the wrists together if you can, and then we're taking circles through. Our hands hold a lot of tension. They do a lot of work for us, so we never really think to stretch them. So it's a nice way to allow a bit more flow into the hands, the wrists. And also doing cat-cows can be quite strong on the wrist sometimes. Let's just take a few more rolls through side to side with directions. Right, so then coming still from here, we're going to keep the hands interlaced, push the hands away from us, start to round through the upper back, touch into chest, and then breathe into the upper back. So send all of your breath, the energy of your breath, into the upper back. As you exhale, squeeze in the stomach, seeing if you can push the hands a little bit further away from you, push the spine round on, maybe touch into chest more. One more breath here. We're going to flip the palms away from us, staying in this rounded space. See if you can stretch the knuckles away from you. Keep breathing into the upper back. Notice how that changes the stretch, just very subtly, but it does. One more breath here. And slowly you can start to release. Nice. Relax through the feet. Just come back onto all fours. You can give the feet a bash if you need to, or the tops of the feet a bash. Nice. From here, we're going to come into a reclined butterfly. We're going to use, if you have a brick, you can use a brick. If you have a bolster or a pillow, you can use the bolster or the pillow the same way. And if you want to increase it so that you're a little bit more supported, you can use the brick underneath the top of the pillow or the bolster. So just set yourself up there. Depends what you want. The bolster is going to give you a little bit more of a softer opening around the heart and shoulders. Or the brick we can either use so flat. We want it to go just at the bottom of the shoulder blades. So where the bra line is, basically, that's where the bottom of the brick is going to rest. So you can either use it flat like that, or you can twist it on its side, which is this part, which is quite strong, and you want it to run along the spine. But just as you're coming down, make sure that you're being very gentle as you come down. This is the most intense setting, and then one down is a little bit less. Bolster is a bit softer, or the pillow, or you can use a blanket either over a bolster or by itself. If you have spare cushions, you might want to use them on the sides of the hips. We're going to come into butterfly with the legs. So the soles of the feet come together, the knees come apart, and you can wedge the cushion underneath the knee or underneath the side of the hip to support you. To come down, if you come onto your elbows, the brick is going to measure up just to the bottom of the shoulder blades. So just find that space that feels comfortable, and then slowly you can lower yourself down. If that feels too strong for you, just modify. You can always work without any props, and you can just take your arms up over your head. This still expands around the heart, but it's just not as intense. So just choose whichever option feels good for you. I'm going to use a bolster. I'm going to be here for 5 minutes, so make sure you feel really comfortable and you're set. I'm going to do the practice with you. So just take this time to make any adjustments. Again, come back to your breath. Just placing the arms wherever feels comfortable. So you could either have hands on your hips, your belly, stretched out if you've got the space. You might want to take up that space. I quite like to have the arms up over my head. It just gives my shoulder blades a really lovely opening, and it lets me send the breath into my ribcage a little bit better. So wherever you are, just finding that space, you can start to close down through the eyes. And as you get into the space, start to acknowledge how the body feels. As you come into yourself, coming into your own individual spaces. Noticing how your home feels, and your home being your body. Even though we've slowed down a lot due to not being able to leave our houses, our physical houses, we still find a lot of ways to be busy. And when we take these moments to just drop in, we can really start to tune into how we're feeling, To make space from the emotions, because we are not the emotions. We are the observer of the emotions. We are the ones that have that spaciousness, that vastness deep within the heart space. But if we just allow ourselves to observe, we can see that we create a little bit of space between the mind, emotions, physical body, and that seer, that observer. We sometimes get a glimpse of that space of eternal, infinite. And we start to connect in with that feeling of peace, of courage, divinity. And just here for 1 more minute. So as we allow ourselves to come into a more in-like, soft, slow, steady space, we can start to see where the body resists and where the body is holding, and we can start to move into those areas of tension with the breath. We can start to acknowledge how our body's doing. We can start to be more compassionate for ourselves. We can start to awaken more fully to all that we are, all that we have within inside us, and actually hold space for ourselves. So wherever you are in each day of your practice is perfect, it's fine wherever you are. There's no competition, there's no comparison. Just in a space of observing, accepting, acknowledging, and most importantly, loving. Just taking our last 3 rounds of breath here. So if you're on a break, be able to come off of there slowly and gently, just take your time. We want to tuck chin to chest, engage the core, and prop yourself up onto your elbows before you start to roll off. If you're on a bolster, we can slowly start to roll to one side, shifting the hips. We can break the bolster out to the side and come into a rebound. Coming onto our backs again, bringing the knees into the chest. Give yourself a hug, or it might feel nice to just pause, feet flat to the mat in semi-supine, maybe taking some knee sways. So a rebound is a space just to come back into a neutral, just to acknowledge any changes that the shape is allowed for the body. Nice, just one more breath here. And then we can slowly come all the way up to a seat. So you can either rock yourself up or go to the side and come up. Just move anything out of the way. So next shape we're going to come into is Anahatasana, heart melting or extended puppy. So if you come towards the back end of your mat, so your feet are more towards the end, and then we can start to slowly pad the hands out. And when you feel you're in a comfortable position, you want to keep the hips pushing back towards the heels. So the weight is in the legs, and then you can either rest the forehead to the floor, or you can start to, if you've got the space, drop the chest and chin to the floor. If that's a little bit too strong for your arms today or your shoulders, come onto your forearms, shift your hips forward and drop your body down onto the mat and come into Sphinx pose instead. So it's totally up to you what you want to work, and if Sphinx is also too strong, just shift your elbows slightly further forward, and you can always rest your head into your hands, always modifying to wherever feels good for you. So we're going to be here for 4 minutes. If you need to prop yourself up, you might want to use a bolster underneath the chest if you're in Anatasana, maybe underneath the arms if you're in Sphinx pose. Just go into whatever feels good for you today. Not pushing past the edge, but also meeting where you can move further into, where can we expand. So often when we allow physical changes to our body, this can reflect in the mind, the way we see things. Sometimes we put blocks and limits on ourselves due to fear, and that's reflected in the body. Hold that as tension or restriction. Just acknowledge how you feel in the shape. Remembering to forward your breath or move it on if you've come out. You can always end the pose earlier if you need to. Listen to your body. Just over halfway. Back to the breath if you've noticed the mind is wandering. Where can you occupy more fully in your body? Come back maybe into the heart space. Breathe from here. Just taking our last 2 rounds of breath. If you're in Anatasana, you can start to slowly pad your hands back towards you, coming into either tabletop or child's pose. Maybe it might be nice to rest your hands down beside your hips. If you're in Sphinx pose, you can make a pillow of your hand, rest your forehead down to the mat. Or again, you can take your hands down beside your hips, resting your forehead or the side of your head onto the floor. Whichever positions feel good for you, taking a rebound. Just a few moments. Noticing how the body feels as you come out of the shape. Noticing how the feels. And then when you're ready, you can slowly start to come back up to a lifted position. Nice slow movements. And then move into our next shape. We're going to come into Malasana, which is squat. So I quite like to have my cushion underneath my heels. Just allows my feet to really sink, and also I have a bit of a support if I want to sit back. So you might want to grab a cushion or a pillow, or if you've got foam blocks, you might want to use those under your heels, or you might feel comfortable without. And take up a nice big bit of space through the feet and try to turn the toes slightly outward. So starting, we want to take the elbows on the inside of the knees and bring the hands into a prayer. And then we can start to pull the hands down towards the heart and pull the heart up toward the hands. So we're getting a nice length through the spine, openness through the chest, openness in the hips. We're going to be here for about 5 minutes or so with a bit of a movement in the middle. So just get yourself into a comfortable position. If you need to come up against a wall as well, it's really nice if you rest your back on the wall, if you've got a space nearby. Again, try to get the shoulders down the back, the heart space as open as you can. And breathe nice full belly breaths. The more we can let the breath move the tissues of the body, the more we can bring fluidity back into the fascial network. Helps to bring more movement into the flow, into the tissues, and flows into the tissues. More circulation to move through the body. If it feels nice, you can shut your eyes and bring the mind back to your intention, courage, and feeling and embodying courage, a strong, vibrant energy. What is it that you brought your courage to today? So you can either stay here if you feel quite comfortable, or if you want to add a bit more of a stretch into the upper back, you can start to reach your hands forward towards the top of your mat. You might want to lift your hips off the floor, and we're going to let the head come down towards the floor so you're getting a nice round in the back. I like to come up onto my fingertips and then push into my sit bone, so I'm really rounding and lengthening the spine. Sometimes as well, it feels nice to move side to side through the legs and feet, so you're working into the groin, the hips as well. Again, stay where you need to, always come out if you need to, always modify if you need to. Breathe in fully. Just here for another minute and a half. Encouraging the softening, encouraging the releasing into your mind, your thoughts. Allow that to reflect in your body, releasing and letting go. Any strain and restriction, maybe push a little bit further into the edges of the stretch. Just take your last 2 rounds of breath. And then you can slowly start to pad yourself back. You can either wiggle your feet in and come into all fours, or you can slowly start to stretch up through the legs. Maybe it might feel nice to come into a forward fold from standing, or it might feel nice to just walk through the legs. It might feel nice to come down onto all fours and stretch or pedal the legs out. Might feel good to come into a down dog. So allow yourself to slowly move into your rebound, whatever that is. Nice, just taking your last breath here. We're going to move into our next shape, which is going to be a forward fold. So again, we're working into the back of the heart. But this can either be from standing. It might feel nice for you to either come from a standing position, just take your feet about hip width apart. Bend your knees a little bit so your belly can completely relax onto your thighs. You want to push back into your sit bones. And then you can either just let your head drop down, your arms dangled, or you can hold on to your elbows. You might want to interlace your fingers behind the back of the neck and let the elbows drop to the floor. Or you might want to bring your hands interlaced to rest onto your sacrum, lower back. Or it might feel nice to interlace the hands and send the hands up over the head. So you're getting a bit more of a stretch through the arms, the shoulders, the chest. You can also do this holding onto the forearms. If you feel like you want a bit more of a restorative position or a softer position, we can come to seated. You might want to use a bolster or blanket underneath the legs, underneath the sit bones. And then we can either start to fold forward in a very yin way. Just let the head drop, arms drop, and then the arms go back. That feels better for the shoulders. Or you can also rest the head onto the hands. You might also use a brick to rest the forehead onto if that feels good. But just find whatever position feels good for you. So coming into, we're going to be here for 3 minutes. So find one that feels sustainable, whatever you are. So the aim is to open up, again, the meridians through the heart, through the arms. So we want to send the breath in to the space. So the Heart Meridian has 3 drop branches, each of which begin in the heart. One runs down through the diaphragm to the small intestine. Another runs up through the throat and tongue to meet the eye. And the 3rd meridian line runs across the chest, down the inner arm, ending at the tip of the little finger. Meridian lines are these energy pathways and carry information from the organ, physically, emotionally, energetically. And sometimes along these meridian lines we find blockages, whether that's a physical blockage from a scar, from an operation, from an injury. It might also be habitual in the postures that we have, becomes blockages, or it could be an emotional blockage, something that we're carrying around in the mind and affects the body. For example, someone who's more reserved, shy, might round their shoulders a bit more because they're closing off their heart space, drawing inward, trying to hide. But then this also creates a blockage in the shoulders, the arms, from the full expression, the full expansion of what these meridian lines are meant to be, and this creates a dis-ease or a disharmony in the flow of energy. And then over time, this is when we start to see issues arising. So by allowing ourselves to stay in these spaces of pausing, of reflecting, of holding space for ourselves, we can slowly start to move that energy through. We can start to become aware of where we're holding, of where we're restricted, or maybe the energy feels really good and we're just allowing more of that energy to flow through. Just here for one more minute. If you're in a standing position, you can slowly start to either roll up to standing or come down into a squat, whatever feels best. We're going to work our way down toward the floor to come to our next position, but just take your time. And if you're in a forward fold, you can slowly start to unravel the spine, come back up to a lifted. And then we might want to come to either Shavasana just for a moment, or resting the legs out long, the arms behind us. We might want to sit and stretch your arms up, whatever feels good, just to come back into a more neutral space. You might want to roll the shoulders, you might want to do a little twist or just pause. Just notice how it feels to have come out of that shape and what's flushing through your body, what's changing, if there is anything at all. Nice. So one of my favourite ways for moving into the heart space is coming into a twist. So I'm going to invite you now into a twist. So we're going to come into a reclined position. You might want to use your bolster for this one. If you shift yourself into the middle of your mat and then let yourself come to lay down, we want to shift our hips over to the left side of the mat, and then we can let the knees drop over to the right side. So you either have the bolster or cushion underneath the knee, or maybe between the knees. That feels nice. You might not need a bolster. Just find where it feels good. If you've got a gap in between the knees, sometimes it's good to have something to support. If the knees are closer up towards the chest, we're going to get a deeper stretch all the way around the heart. So I'd encourage that if you can, but if not, just send the knees a little bit further away from the body, lower down toward the hips, and then we're going to get more of a twist in the lower back, which is still perfectly fine because we're still twisting the spine, so that's great. And then I want to take the arms either out into a T shape, or you can take them into a cactus. So that's just bending the elbows and bringing the hands beside the head. This is a little bit stronger for the arms. Or we can also work with the hands up over the head, arms straight, in more of like a V shape. But making sure that the legs are heavy, the legs are rested. We're getting a nice twist through the spine. Maybe try to shuffle through the upper back so your left shoulder is down on the ground. If it's not, you might want to use a blanket underneath that shoulder blade. And lastly, we can look over the left shoulder if that feels good. So allowing yourself to come down into a quiet space. Breathe fully. This one's really lovely to feel the breath moving the tissues. So if you try to breathe deeply into the belly, the ribs, especially that left rib cage, the back of the heart, you feel a lot of movement, a lot of opening. And when we've got the arms open as well, we get a nice expansion all the way down into the fingers. See for the last 30 seconds on this side. And taking our last one, 2 breath here. Preparing ourselves to move back to the centre. First starting with your head, allowing your gaze to come back to the ceiling. Slowly taking your time to roll onto your back, removing any props that might be in the way. And just take a moment in the centre before you go to the other side. So allow yourself to realign. You might need to lift your hips up, lift your head up, wriggle the shoulders. Take a breath in. And then we can move any props over to the other side that you might need. We're shifting the hips now over to the right side of the mat, just like a couple of inches over to the side. Let the legs drop over. And again, you can bring the knees up as high as feels good. Shuffle through the shoulder blades so you're getting a nice opening across the upper back, the upper chest. Try to get that right shoulder blade down towards the mat. And then you can start to look over right shoulder if that feels good. Notice any differences if there are any. Taking awareness back to the breath. And seeing if you can shift that golden energy that we cultivated in the heart to the rest of the body. Watch for the micro movements and shifts in the body, expansions, releases. Allowing our breath to move as it needs to help us in that release, in that expansion. Let's take our last 2 or 3 rounds of breath on this side. We'll prepare ourselves to come back to the centre. Allow yourself to move really slowly, starting with the gaze, going back to the centre. And then slowly moving any props out of the way, taking the knees back to centre, shifting the hips. Take a moment to realign. And then any movements that might feel good for you, maybe some gentle knee sways, might feel nice to massage the back, lower back. Might feel good to bring the knees into the chest and take some rock side to side. Or you might want to come straight into Shavasana from here. So just set yourself up with anything you might need. You might want to bring a bolster underneath the backs of the knees to support them. You might want to pillow under the feet or the head. The arms might want to come out to the side, rest on the belly. Maybe you might want to bring one hand onto your heart, both hands. Wherever you are, just finding a really comfortable position, maybe taking a blanket. Maybe covering your eyes. And when you get into the space you feel comfortable, just take a moment to take a deep breath in and a nice sigh out. Taking as many rounds as feels good. Coming back into the space of your heart. Allowing your body to really rest into the support of the earth beneath you. Feel release all around the heart space, around the mind, and the stomach. I'm going to read you a nice poem from Charles Bukowski. It's called The Laughing Hut. Your life is your life. Don't let it be clubbed into dank submission. Be on the watch. There are ways out. There is a light somewhere. It may not be much light, but it beats the darkness. Be on the watch. The gods will offer you chances. Know them. Take them. You can't beat death, but you can beat death in life sometimes. And the more often you learn to do it, the more light there will be. Your life is your life. Know it while you have it. You are marvelous. The gods wait to delight in you. I go among trees and sit still. All my stirring becomes quiet. Around me like circles on water. My tasks lie in their places where I left them. Sleep like cattle. Then what I'm afraid of comes. I live for a while in its sight. What I fear in it leaves it. And the fear of it leaves me. It sings and I hear its song. Just allowing yourself to acknowledge your body. Take some more nice deep breaths in and out through the nose, maybe out through the mouth. Notice any changes energetically, emotionally, physically, mentally. Taking a moment to absorb the practice. And then when you're ready, you can start to wiggle fingers, toes, stretch ankles, wrists, stretch body, maybe hug knees in, sighs, yawns, anything that allows you to release a little more. And then when you're ready, you can slowly make your way onto your side. Pause for a moment, breathing into the back of your heart. And then you can slowly make your way up to a seat. And we'll finish with one nice big together, allowing our fields to connect, to release any final bits of stress, tension in the body, to vibrate out through the heart space, and to bring us back into resonance with the earth through Just take a normal breath in and a normal exhale. Inhale into prepare. Bowing your head down to your heart, offering gratitude to yourself for all that you are, offering gratitude to each other for sharing this space and our collective energies, offering gratitude to teachers before us and to come, and offering gratitude to our spirit guides, our ancestors, divine beings. Namaste.